At midnight, husband threw pregnant wife out in a towel after the mistress told him she's coming. At midnight, her husband dragged her out of the house, pregnant, barefoot, wrapped only in a towel, because his mistress had announced she was coming. The night was cold, her belly heavy with child, yet he shoved her outside without a second thought. What do you think happened to a woman treated with such cruelty? This is the story of a woman who was thrown out in shame, yet endured the unimaginable, and rose from the ashes her husband left her in. Hello family, welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from, because together, we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. The neighborhood thought Anna had everything. She was 8 months pregnant, glowing with the kind of beauty that made people stop and smile. Her husband, Michael, was the man everyone admired, handsome, successful, charming, and always ready with a polite smile when neighbors greeted him. From the outside, theirs was the perfect home. A mansion with wide glass windows, expensive cars parked in the driveway, and a garden that looked like something out of a magazine. To strangers, Michael and Anna were the dream couple. But behind those tall gates, Anna lived a different story. That evening, Anna stood in front of the mirror, gently pressing her swollen belly. The baby kicked, and for a brief moment, she smiled. She whispered softly, "Just a little longer, my love. Mama's here." Then Michael's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Why are you just standing there? Do you realize how pathetic you look?" Anna flinched. "I was just what?" he snapped. "Just wasting time? Just staring at yourself like you're something special? Look at you, Anna. You're bloated, heavy and slow. Do you even see what you've become?" Her smile faded. She dropped her gaze. Michael didn't stop. He never did. "I work like a dog every day to give you this life, and you can't even keep yourself presentable. Do you think people don't notice? Do you think they don't see how clumsy you've gotten? You embarrass me, Anna. Everywhere we go, you embarrass me." Anna swallowed hard, fighting tears. "I'm sorry, Michael." "Sorry doesn't change how disgusting you look." He grabbed his jacket from the chair. "God. Sometimes I wonder how I even ended up with you." He walked out, leaving the scent of his cologne and a trail of humiliation behind him. When the front door slammed, Anna sat on the edge of the bed and pressed her hands against her belly. She whispered to her unborn child, "Don't listen to him. Mama loves you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." But even as she said it, her chest ached. She couldn't understand how the man who once held her hand, who once promised her the world, could now look at her with such disgust. Later that night, she heard him in his study. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but sharp enough to make her pause outside the door. She said, "Tonight is the test." Michael murmured, "I can't fail her. I've already promised. Don't worry, I'll handle Anna." Anna's heart skipped. She said, "Who is she?" Her first thought was business. Michael had many investors, many clients. Maybe one of them was testing his loyalty. Maybe this was about money. She told herself that. She needed to believe it. But something about his tone, the urgency, the secrecy, stuck in her chest like a thorn. She backed away from the door, clutching her belly. "It's just business," she whispered to herself. "Michael has a lot on his mind. That's all." But deep down, a quiet fear began to grow. The next morning, the mask was back in place. Michael stood in the driveway in his tailored suit, waving at the neighbors as they passed. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," Mrs. Peterson, the elderly woman across the street, called cheerfully. "Good morning." Michael flashed a perfect smile, his arm wrapped casually around Anna's shoulders. Everyone smiled back, envious. They saw the perfect husband, the loving man. No one saw how tightly his fingers dug into Anna's arm, or how his smile disappeared the moment the neighbors turned away. As soon as they stepped back inside, he dropped her arm. Stand up straight when you're outside. Do you want people thinking I married a weakling? Anna nodded silently. And stop staring at me like a lost puppy. You think that makes me look good? You're pathetic. That night, they hosted a dinner party. Their living room glowed with golden lights, music played softly, and guests laughed over glasses of wine. Michael was the center of attention, telling stories of his business triumphs. Every so often he reached for Anna's hand or kissed her cheek. Guests marveled at how attentive he was to his pregnant wife. Michael, you're such a gentleman, one woman gushed. Anna is lucky. Michael grinned. Yes, she is. Anna forced a smile, nodding politely. But the moment the guests left, the atmosphere shifted like a storm. Michael shut the door and turned on her. Did you hear yourself tonight? You could barely keep a conversation going, sitting there, looking like some lost cow. Do you know how embarrassing that is for me? Anna's throat tightened. I tried. Your only job was to sit there and look decent, and even that you failed. You kept touching your belly like you wanted everyone's attention on you. No one cares that you're pregnant, Anna. Stop acting like it's some achievement. Her lips trembled, but she stayed quiet. Next time, Michael said coldly, loosening his tie. Just keep your mouth shut. You'll embarrass me less. Anna went upstairs alone, her shoulders heavy, her body aching not from the pregnancy, but from the words he hurled at her every day. To the world, Michael was the perfect husband. To her, he was a stranger with sharp words and colder eyes. And though she didn't know it yet, the whisper she had overheard, the test he had to pass, was about to destroy her life. The next morning, Anna woke before sunrise. Her body was tired, her back ached from the weight of her belly, but she still went downstairs to prepare breakfast. She thought maybe, just maybe, if she did everything right, Michael would find less to complain about. She laid out his favorite, eggs, toast, and black coffee. Michael came down in a crisp shirt, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even glance at her. He sat, took a sip of the coffee, and frowned. What is this? Your coffee, Anna said softly. It's weak. He shoved the mug away. Do you even know how I like it? We've been married for years, and you still can't get it right. What do you do all day, Anna? Sit around and get fat? She froze. You're useless, he continued, stabbing a fork into his eggs. Any woman would kill to be in your position. But here you are, failing at the simplest things. I'm sorry, Anna whispered. You're always sorry. He pushed the plate aside and stood. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you're incompetent. God, look at you. You waddle around this house like a burden I never asked for. Anna bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. She wanted to scream, to defend herself, but the words stuck in her throat. Later that day, she tried calling him. Michael, she said softly over the phone. I was thinking we could have dinner together tonight. Just the two of us. It's been a while. There was a pause, then a sharp laugh. Dinner? With you? His voice dripped with mockery. What for? So I can sit across from your swollen face and pretend I enjoy it? Don't embarrass yourself, Anna. I have real plans tonight. The line went dead. Anna sat on the edge of the bed, holding the phone like it weighed 100 pounds. She pressed her hands against her stomach. Don't worry, she whispered to her unborn child. Mama's still here. Mama's strong. We'll be okay. But even as she said it, tears rolled down her cheeks. That evening she heard the front door. Michael had come home late, smelling faintly of expensive perfume that wasn't hers. Where were you? Anna asked quietly. He dropped his keys on the table, glaring at her. You don't get to ask me questions. Do you understand? I was just worried. Worried? He stepped closer, towering over her. You're not my mother, Anna. Stop acting like you have a say in where I go or who I see. You're nothing more than dead weight in this house. Her hands shook. "Michael, I'm your wife." He laughed coldly. "Wife? Don't flatter yourself. You're just a woman I happened to marry. If I had known you'd turn into this, I would have chosen better." The words cut deeper than any knife. 2 nights later they attended another gathering, this time at a wealthy friend's estate. Anna wore a simple blue dress, one of the few that still fit over her growing stomach. "You're going out like that?" Michael sneered before they left. "It's the only one that fits me now." Pathetic. Try not to embarrass me tonight. At the party, Michael played the part of doting husband once again. He kept an arm around Anna, pulled out her chair, poured her water. Guests smiled and whispered, "What a gentleman." But every time she leaned close to thank him, his grip tightened painfully on her arm, and through clenched teeth he hissed, "Don't speak unless someone asks you something. Do you hear me?" Anna nodded silently, her smile frozen in place. When they got home, the mask dropped. "You looked ridiculous tonight," Michael said, tossing his jacket onto the couch. "Sitting there like some cow, eating too much, touching your stomach every 5 minutes. Did you see the looks people gave you?" They were disgusted. Anna's voice trembled. No one said anything. Of course they didn't. They're too polite. But I saw it. I felt it. You're dragging me down, Anna. Do you understand that? You are ruining my image, and I won't let you ruin me. He stormed upstairs, leaving her standing in the empty living room, her hands cradling her belly, her heart pounding. That night, Anna lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Michael's words replayed in her mind. "You're dragging me down. You're ruining me." And then she remembered what she had overheard days ago. She said tonight is the test. I can't fail her. Who was she? And what test? Anna didn't have the answers, but she could feel it in her bones. Something dark was coming. She closed her eyes and held her belly tight. "My love," she whispered to her unborn child. "I don't know what tomorrow will bring. But whatever happens, I'll protect you. Even if it costs me everything." That night, as Michael slept soundly beside her, Anna's eyes stayed open, heavy with dread. The perfect mask was slipping, the cracks were showing, and soon the whole world would see the truth hiding behind their golden doors. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give future to children and women abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing to hitting the subscribe button and turning on your notification bell. Also let us know in the comments where you are watching us from and how this story hit home for you. The night was heavy with silence. Outside, the streets were empty, the lamps casting long shadows across the quiet neighborhood. Inside the Carter mansion, the lights still glowed. Anna sat on the couch, her hands resting on her swollen belly. The baby shifted inside her, pressing against her ribs. She whispered softly, "Almost there, little one." Just a few more weeks, but her peace shattered when the front door opened without warning. Michael stepped in, and behind him came a tall woman in a red dress, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Her perfume filled the air, sharp and sweet, cutting through the room. Anna's heart sank. She didn't need an introduction. She knew instantly this was her, the she Michael had whispered about. The woman smiled, a cold, mocking smile. "So this is the wife." Michael's jaw tightened. "Vanessa, not here." Vanessa's eyes roamed over Anna, pausing at her belly. She let out a small laugh. "You didn't tell me she was this big." God, she looks miserable. Anna's lips parted, but no words came out. Michael shot her a glare. "Don't just sit there like an idiot. Get up and greet her." Anna rose slowly, her bare feet sinking into the carpet. Her body was heavy, her breath uneven. "Hello," she said softly, forcing the word past the lump in her throat. Vanessa tilted her head. "She's polite. How sweet. But Michael, you know what we agreed. She crossed her arms. If you want me, she has to go. Tonight Anna's eyes widened. What? Michael didn't look at her. He looked at Vanessa. Are you serious? Vanessa's smile hardened. I don't share. Not with a pregnant wife. Not with anyone. If you want me in your life, Michael, she leaves. Now. The room spun around Anna. She stumbled forward, clutching her belly. Michael, please. What is she saying? You're not really going to— Shut up, Anna! Michael snapped, his voice sharp like a whip. You think you have a say in this? You're nothing. You've been dragging me down for months, and I'm sick of it. Tears blurred Anna's vision. But I'm your wife. I'm carrying your child. Michael laughed coldly. Don't remind me. That's the only thing you've ever done. Get pregnant and sit here like a burden. Vanessa smirked, stepping closer. She's pathetic, Michael. Look at her, standing there in that ragged nightgown, begging. Do you really want that tied to your name? Anna turned to Michael, her voice trembling. Don't do this. Please, I've stood by you through everything. I've never complained. I love you, love, Michael sneered. What has your love ever given me? Nothing but shame. You think I care about your love? Vanessa is the only woman who makes me feel alive. The words shattered Anna. She felt the ground slip beneath her. Michael! Her voice cracked. Please, don't throw me away. Not like this. But Michael had already made his choice. His eyes were cold, empty. He grabbed her arm. Get out! Anna gasped. What? It's midnight. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care, Michael spat. You will not embarrass me in front of Vanessa. You'll leave this house tonight. He dragged her toward the stairs. Anna clutched at the banister, trying to resist. Please, Michael, I'm not even dressed. Then go as you are. He yanked her forward. Anna stumbled, her towel slipping from the hook on the wall as he shoved it at her. Here, cover yourself with this if you're so concerned. She looked down at the thin towel, horror in her eyes. Michael, no, please, not like this. Vanessa laughed. Oh, this is perfect. The neighbors will see what she really is. Anna's heart raced. She shook her head violently, clutching her belly. Please, the baby. Think of the baby. At least let me get dressed. Michael's face twisted with rage. The baby? You think I care? You should have thought of that before turning into this useless mess. Now move. He shoved the towel into her arms and pulled her toward the front door. Anna's cries echoed in the empty hall. Don't do this! Michael, please, I have nowhere to go! But Michael didn't slow down. His grip was like iron around her wrist, dragging her across the polished floor. When they reached the door, Anna tried one last time. She fell to her knees, sobbing. Please! Not like this. You loved me once. Doesn't that mean anything? Michael yanked her back to her feet. That was before you turned into this disgrace. Vanessa is right. You don't belong here. He pulled the door open. The cold night air rushed in, biting her skin. Anna clung to the doorframe, desperate. Michael, please! Don't do this to me! Don't shame me like this! But he tore her hands away, pushed her outside, and slammed the door behind her. The sound echoed through the night like a gunshot. Anna stood barefoot on the front steps, wrapped only in a towel, the chill slicing through her. Her belly trembled with each breath. From inside she heard laughter. Vanessa's laughter, light and cruel, and Michael's voice, low and satisfied. Finally, she's gone. Anna staggered back a step, tears streaming down her face. The night air was cold, her body weak, her heart shattered. Windows flickered to life around the neighborhood. Curtains shifted. Shadows moved. The Kaidi neighbors were watching. They saw her standing there, pregnant, barefoot, wrapped in nothing but a towel. The whispers began, and Anna, humiliated beyond words, collapsed onto the cold steps, clutching her belly. She whispered through her sobs, her voice breaking the silence of the night. I will never forget this night. The cold night wrapped around Anna like ice. Her bare feet pressed against the rough stone steps. The towel clung weakly to her shivering body, and her swollen belly rose and fell with each trembling breath. Her mind spun. How could he do this? How could the man I trusted, the man I loved, throw me out like trash? She lifted her head slowly and saw movement across the street. A curtain shifted, then another. The neighbors were awake. Behind glass, shadows leaned close. Some faces peeked through half-open blinds, whispering. She could almost hear their words carried by the night breeze. Is that Anna Carter? What on earth is she doing outside like that? She's pregnant! Look at her. Oh my God, she's in nothing but a towel. Her heart clenched. Shame burned hotter than the cold. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the ground. She pulled the towel tighter around her chest, but nothing could cover the truth. She had been thrown out by her husband. The door behind her creaked open. Anna turned, hope flashing in her eyes. Maybe Michael changed his mind. Maybe he'll help me back inside. But it wasn't Michael. It was Vanessa. She stood in the doorway, her red dress glowing in the golden light, her arms folded with smug satisfaction. She leaned lazily against the frame, eyes scanning Anna from head to toe. Oh, how pitiful, Vanessa purred. Look at you. Out here in the cold, like a stray cat. Do you realize how pathetic you look? Anna's lips quivered. Please, Vanessa, I've done nothing to you. Please don't do this. I'm carrying his child. Vanessa smirked. Exactly. And that's the problem. I don't share. Michael belongs to me now. You? You're just a memory. Tears blurred Anna's vision. I loved him. I gave him everything. And look where it got you, Vanessa snapped, her voice sharp as glass. Thrown out barefoot, dressed like a beggar. You're not his wife anymore, Anna. You're nothing. With a laugh that cut deep, she turned back into the house. The door slammed once more. The sound echoed like final judgment. Anna fell to her knees on the cold stone. The towel slipped slightly, but she clutched it back against her chest, sobbing uncontrollably. Her belly tightened, a dull ache spreading through her body. She whispered to her unborn child, voice shaking, "Don't be afraid. Mama's here. Mama won't let him destroy us. Not forever. Not like this." The baby shifted inside her, almost as if answering. She tried to rise, but her legs buckled. She sank again, pressing her hand against the door as if Michael might still hear her through the wood. "Michael," she cried softly. "Please. Don't let me out here. I have nowhere to go. I'm carrying your child." But inside she heard only muffled laughter, Vanessa's mocking voice, Michael's deeper tone joining hers. He hadn't just shut her out of the house, he had shut her out of his life. The neighborhood whispers grew louder. A man's voice carried faintly from across the street. She must have done something terrible for him to throw her out like that. Another replied, or maybe this is who she really is. We never knew what went on behind those doors. Anna buried her face in her hands. Each whisper was another blade cutting into her soul. Not only had Michael humiliated her, but he had made her a spectacle for the world to mock. Time seemed to stand still. The cold deepened. Her body shook violently, but her tears finally slowed. She stared at the ground, her heart numb, and then, quietly, brokenly, words slipped from her lips, words that would stay with her forever. "I will never forget this night." Her voice cracked, but the vow was clear. This shame, this pain. I will carry it with me. And one day I will rise from it. Her hand pressed firmly against her belly. For you, my child. For us. This night will not be the end. It will be the beginning. From inside the mansion, light spilled through the windows. The sound of music played faintly. Michael and Vanessa celebrating, as if Anna's suffering were entertainment. But outside, barefoot, humiliated and broken, Anna was making a promise no one could hear. A promise that one day the man who dragged her out into the cold and the woman who mocked her would regret this night more than anything in their lives. For now, though, she sat in silence, shivering beneath the weight of betrayal, as the neighborhood watched from their windows and whispered her shame. And above it all, the midnight sky stretched wide and dark, holding her vow like a secret written in the stars. The night seemed endless. Anna sat on the cold stone steps for what felt like hours, her body trembling from the chill, her eyes swollen from crying. The towel clung damp against her skin, and every movement made her belly ache. She felt like a ghost of herself, abandoned in the dark, stripped of her dignity. The laughter from inside the house had faded into silence, but the pain in her chest only grew louder. Michael's words replayed again and again. "You're nothing. You don't belong here. Vanessa is the only woman who makes me feel alive." She pressed her hand against her stomach. "Don't worry, my baby," she whispered, her teeth chattering. "Mama will find a way." Somehow, with every ounce of strength left in her, Anna rose unsteadily to her feet. The street was quiet. A few curtains were still drawn open, neighbors watching, but no one came out. Not one person stepped forward to help her. The shame of it sank into her bones. Barefoot, she began walking down the street, each step cut against the rough pavement. Her towel slipped, and she clutched it tighter, her face burning with humiliation. She didn't know where she was going. She only knew she couldn't stay. She walked past familiar houses, each one lit warmly inside. She could see families gathered at tables, children laughing, couples sipping tea. It made her stomach twist with grief. Once, she thought her life had looked like that. But it had all been a mask, a show Michael put on for the world. Now the truth was laid bare. She was homeless, unwanted, and carrying a child that felt heavier with each painful step. Halfway down the street, her legs gave out. She sank to the curb, sobbing quietly into her hands. The towel slipped again, and she hugged it back around her shoulders, wishing she could disappear. A passing car slowed, the driver staring. Anna turned her face away, mortified. The car drove on. That was when she realized she had no one to turn to, no friends. Michael had isolated her, convinced her that everyone outside their home envied her, that they couldn't be trusted. She had believed him. She had cut herself off from people who might have cared. Now all she had was the memory of one person, her grandmother. Anna hadn't spoken to Margaret in years. Her grandmother had raised her after her parents died. But when Anna married Michael, everything changed. Michael had called Margaret old-fashioned and toxic. He said she meddled too much and disrespected him. Slowly, he pushed Anna away from her grandmother, convincing her that she didn't need anyone else. But now, in the middle of the night, cold and broken, Margaret's face came back to her. The wrinkles, the sharp eyes, the way she used to hold Anna's hand and say, "Never forget who you are, child." Anna rose again. Her body screamed in protest, but she forced her legs to move. Step after painful step, she walked out of the wealthy neighborhood and toward the poorer side of town, where her grandmother still lived. It took hours. By the time she reached the small wooden house with its peeling paint and sagging roof, dawn had started to break. Birds chirped in the trees, mocking her misery with their cheerful songs. Anna stood at the gate, shaking. Her feet were cut and raw, her eyes blurred with exhaustion. She raised her fist and knocked weakly at the door. The door creaked open. Margaret stood there, wrapped in a faded robe, her grey hair tied back. Her sharp eyes widened when she saw Anna, barefoot, wrapped in a towel, her belly heavy, her face streaked with tears. "Dear Lord," Margaret breathed. "Anna?" Anna's voice cracked. "Grandma!" Without another word, Margaret pulled her inside. She wrapped a blanket around her trembling shoulders and sat her down in a chair. "What happened to you, child?" "Who did this?" Margaret's voice shook with both anger and concern. Anna sobbed. Michael, he threw me out. At midnight, he said I was nothing. He chose her. Margaret's face hardened. Her. Vanessa, Anna whispered. His mistress. Margaret's jaw clenched. I always knew that man was rotten. From the first day I met him, I saw the arrogance in his eyes. But you were so blinded by love, Anna covered her face. I thought he loved me. I gave him everything. And now, I have nothing. No home, no money, nothing. Margaret knelt beside her, gripping her hands tightly. Listen to me, Anna. You still have your life, you still have your child, and you still have me. That man may have thrown you out, but he has not destroyed you. Anna sobbed harder. I don't know if I can survive this. I feel dead inside. You're stronger than you think, Margaret said firmly, and you will rise again. But first, you must know the truth about Michael. Later that morning, after Anna had bathed and eaten, Margaret sat her down at the kitchen table. Sunlight filtered weakly through the curtains, illuminating the lines on her grandmother's face. Anna, Margaret began, Michael never married you for love. He married you for your inheritance. Anna's stomach twisted. Inheritance? Yes. Your father left you more than just his estate. He left stocks, bonds, and properties under your name. You were young, so Michael convinced you to sign power of attorney papers when you married him. I warned you then, but you wouldn't listen. That man was never interested in your heart, only your fortune. Anna shook her head. No. Michael wouldn't. Margaret slammed a stack of old documents on the table. He already has. I've been keeping track. I hired a lawyer years ago, just in case. Look at these. He's been moving money, selling land, signing documents you never saw. He's stealing from you, Anna. Piece by piece, Anna's hands shook as she picked up the papers. Tears blurred her vision. He betrayed me, in every way. Yes, Margaret said grimly, and there's more. I found something in your father's will, a clause Michael doesn't know about. It states that if your husband is proven guilty of betrayal or misconduct, all rights he has over your inheritance are void. Anna looked up, her eyes wide. You mean? I mean, Margaret said, leaning closer. If you can prove his adultery, his cruelty, his theft, you can strip him of everything he stole, every penny, every property. He will be left with nothing. Anna sat in stunned silence. The thought of justice flickered in her chest, but it was buried under the weight of her humiliation. I don't know if I can fight him, she whispered. I feel broken, Grandma. I feel like I have no strength left. Margaret reached across the table and gripped her hand. You will find your strength. Not for him, not even for me. For your child. That baby is your reason now. Do you understand? Anna nodded weakly, though tears still streamed down her face. The days that followed were filled with pain. Anna couldn't sleep without nightmares of that night, Michael's hands dragging her, Vanessa's mocking laugh, the cold bite of the pavement beneath her feet. She woke often in tears, clutching her belly, whispering, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry you had to feel all that. Margaret tried to comfort her, but healing was slow. Anna had spent years being belittled, years losing her confidence under Michael's cruelty. Now, stripped of her home and dignity, she felt like a hollow shell. But Margaret refused to let her sink into despair. Each morning she pushed Anna gently. Get up, child. Eat. You must eat for the baby. Each night, she reminded her, pain does not last forever. One day, you will stand tall again. Anna resisted at first, but slowly, step by painful step, she began to rise. Margaret taught Anna to sew, to cook, to manage money on her own. She gave her a small space in the market to sell homemade goods, breads, clothes, small crafts. At first, Anna was terrified. She had never worked a day in her life. Michael had always told her she was useless outside the home. But the customers came. They bought her bread, admired her sewing. They smiled at her, treated her with kindness. For the first time in years, Anna felt a flicker of pride. Weeks turned into months. She worked tirelessly, balancing her new trade with caring for her baby, who soon came into the world with cries that filled Margaret's small home with new life. Anna held her child against her chest, tears streaming down her face. "You are my strength," she whispered. "You are my reason to fight." One evening, after putting the baby to sleep, Anna sat at the table with Margaret. The documents lay spread before them. "I want to do it," Anna said softly but firmly. "I want to fight him. I want to take back everything he stole." Margaret's eyes gleamed with pride. "That's my girl. We will gather proof, letters, witnesses, evidence of his adultery. We will be patient, and when the time is right, we will strike." Anna nodded, her jaw set. The fear had not vanished, but something new had taken root inside her. Resolve. She remembered the cold night, the whispers of the neighbors, Vanessa's laughter. She remembered Michael's face as he shoved her into the dark, her hands curled into fists. "I swore I would never forget that night," she said. "Now I swear I will make them regret it." And so began Anna's slow transformation, from a broken, humiliated wife into a woman of strength, sharpened by pain, fueled by betrayal, and armed with truth. The world had seen her fall in disgrace. One day soon they would see her rise. Years passed. The woman who had once been dragged barefoot into the cold night was gone. In her place stood a different Anna, strong, steady, and radiant in her quiet dignity. Life had not been easy, but she had rebuilt herself from the ashes Michael left her in. The small business Margaret helped her start had grown steadily. What began as sewing and baking at a small market stand blossomed into a chain of shops. People respected Anna for her kindness, her honesty, and her perseverance. They admired the way she carried herself, with grace, even when life had broken her. Her child, Daniel, grew up healthy and loved, wrapped in the warmth of his mother's resilience. He never knew the mansion his father once kept, or the cold cruelty of Michael's voice. All he knew was his mother's gentle hand and his great-grandmother's firm guidance. Anna often stayed awake late at night watching Daniel sleep. Sometimes the memory of that dreadful night returned, the laughter behind the slammed door, the whispers of the neighbors. But now it burned not as humiliation, but as fuel. She had survived. She had risen. Michael and Vanessa, however, were not so fortunate. Their life of indulgence devoured itself. Michael's business empire began to crumble under poor decisions, reckless spending, and greed. The charm that once dazzled investors grew thin as whispers of corruption spread. Vanessa, once triumphant, grew restless. The glamour she had stolen came with cracks, bills unpaid, debts mounting, and a man who could no longer maintain the illusion of greatness. They argued often. Their voices echoed down the hallways of the mansion where Anna had once cried in silence. Michael shouted about loyalty, Vanessa sneered about money. She had wanted power and wealth, not a sinking ship. Still, in public, Michael wore his mask. He dressed in fine suits, forced his smile, and boasted of success he no longer truly had. But beneath the surface, he was a man cornered. And Anna knew the time had come. The night of the gala was grander than most. It was one of the city's biggest social events. Politicians, businessmen, socialites, and journalists all gathered in the golden ballroom of the Carter Hotel. Ironically, the hotel still bore Michael's name, though whispers said it was close to being seized by creditors. The chandeliers glittered, glasses clinked, music floated through the air. Michael entered with Vanessa clinging to his arm. She wore another red dress, but the shine on her jewelry was borrowed, and her smile did not reach her eyes. Michael's hair was grayer now, his eyes more tired, but he held his head high, desperate to maintain his image. The room buzzed with greetings, though quieter than before. People still smiled at him, but the whispers followed too. Isn't his company in trouble? I heard his investors are pulling out. Michael ignored it all. He straightened his tie, convinced he could charm his way out of ruin. Then the room shifted. Gasps and murmurs spread like fire. Heads turned toward the grand staircase. Anna was there. She wore a flowing gown of deep blue, simple yet elegant, and diamonds sparkled lightly at her neck. But it wasn't the dress or the jewels that silenced the crowd. It was her presence. She glowed with a calm strength, her chin lifted, her eyes steady. Years of pain had sharpened her into something unbreakable. At her side was Daniel, now a young boy, dressed neatly in a small suit. He held his mother's hand proudly, unaware of the storm brewing in the room. "Is that Anna Carter?" someone whispered. "She looks incredible. I thought Michael left her with nothing." Anna walked gracefully into the ballroom, her gaze scanning the room until it settled on Michael. His face drained of color. He froze, his smile faltering. For a moment, he looked like the man who had once shoved her into the cold night. But now, he was the one, trembling. Vanessa's grip tightened on his arm. "Michael!" she hissed. "What is she doing here?" I don't know," he muttered, though his voice cracked. Anna approached slowly. The crowd parted for her, their eyes wide, their whispers growing. She stopped only a few feet from Michael, her posture calm and unshaken. "Good evening," she said softly, but her voice carried through the silence of the room. Michael swallowed hard. "Anna, what are you doing here?" Anna's eyes never wavered. "Reclaiming what was taken." Gasps rippled through the room. From her bag, Anna drew a folder. Calmly, without theatrics, she handed it to the nearest journalist, who flipped it open with eager hands. Inside were documents, proof of Michael's forged signatures, records of his financial theft, and photographs of his affairs with Vanessa, taken long after he had cast Anna out. The journalist's eyes widened. He turned to the crowd. This is evidence of fraud, of embezzlement, of infidelity." The whispers turned into a storm. Michael lunged forward. "Those are lies, forged. She's desperate. Don't listen to her." Anna's voice cut through him like steel. "Lies. You forged my name to steal my inheritance. You bled my father's legacy dry for your own greed. You betrayed your vows, your family, your own child." Her gaze shifted briefly to Vanessa. "And you helped him." Vanessa stepped back, her face pale. "Michael, is this true?" "Of course not," Michael snapped, but his voice shook. Anna looked around the room, meeting the eyes of every man and woman who once praised Michael's charm. "For years, you admired this man. You envied our so-called perfect life. But, behind those golden doors, he was cruel. He dragged me into the night, barefoot, pregnant, wearing nothing but a towel because his mistress demanded it. He left me to the cold and the shame while you all whispered from behind your curtains." The crowd gasped. Some covered their mouths, some looked away in guilt. Anna's voice trembled, but not with weakness, with the weight of truth. That night broke me. But it also made me. Because when a man strips you of everything, you learn how to clothe yourself in strength. And I have. Michael's face was red with fury. "Enough! You can't prove anything." But Anna simply nodded to the journalist holding the folder. "The evidence is all there. Signed documents, witnesses, bank records. My lawyers have copies. Tonight is just the beginning." The journalist smirked. "This will make headlines by morning." Vanessa yanked her arm from Michael's grip. "You lied to me," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "You told me you were untouchable. That everything was yours." Michael's desperation grew. "Vanessa, don't—" But she laughed bitterly. "Do you think I'll sink with you? I stayed for the wealth, Michael, not for your charm. And now you have nothing. With that, she turned and walked away, her heels echoing across the ballroom floor. She didn't look back. The crowd erupted. Some sneered at Michael, some muttered insults. Others turned their admiration toward Anna, applauding softly, then louder, until the room filled with the sound. Anna stood tall, her son's hand in hers, her eyes locked on Michael's. He was trembling, sweat beading his forehead, his once proud posture crumbling. And then she spoke the words that would haunt him forever. "The night you stripped me of everything, you gave me the strength to own myself." Her voice was calm, steady, and final. Michael staggered back, his eyes wide, his mouth opening and closing without words. The mask he had worn for years shattered completely in front of everyone. Anna turned then, not with anger, but with dignity. She didn't scream, she didn't curse, she didn't need to. Her silence, her composure, was more powerful than any vengeance could be. She walked out of the ballroom, her son's hand in hers, her gown sweeping gracefully behind her. The crowd watched in awe, their whispers now words of admiration. She survived him. She's stronger than he ever was. What a woman. Behind her, Michael sank into a chair, his head in his hands. The applause for Anna still echoed, drowning him in shame. He had lost everything, his wealth, his reputation, his mistress. And worse, he had lost to the woman he once called nothing. Alone, disgraced, and hollow, Michael was left with only his memories. And at the center of them all was that night, the night he dragged her out in the cold, believing she would never rise again. But Anna had risen, and she would never fall again.